Yeah. Welcome to the show. This week it's Weekly Guru number 17. Oh yes, 17 weeks we've been going and I'm loving every week. And this week we've got some brilliant stuff that I'll be covering. Things that I've picked up and I think I just need to share some hints, tips for beginners, because having seen some of the posts on the social meds as we now come into a season of it's the autumn season for marathon, so everyone's deep into marathon training, and there's some things that people are doing which I'm thinking, oh my god, just my gut instincts are thinking I need to help these people here. So there's going to be two top tips that I'll be covering, just two, and they are the most, in my opinion, they are probably the most important training tips. The first one I'll be covering is about strides, and then I'll be talking about the long run, that long run, some of the things for the following week and some ideas, because movie in the past week, and it was around the world in 80 days. I had an idea from that. I thought, but we'll talk more about that. But let me have a quick sip of my tea, because you can't beat a nice cup of tea, can you? Oh, nice. Let's have another mouthful. So yes, I said two tips for marathon training. So I need to give some caveats here. I'm talking specifically about marathon training. That's road marathons, So it's the 26.2 miles, 42.2 kilometers, whatever the distance is, you know that distance, I'm not talking about training tips for 100-meter running or 5k, 10k, which can be quite different. Or ultra marathons or long walks or anything like that. I'm talking about running a 26.2 mile marathon. Tip number one I mentioned is about foot strikes, and there's a whole plethora of information everywhere, some good stuff, some not so good, about how your foot strikes when it hits the ground, because obviously there's all sorts of injuries that people pick up, knees, shin split, knees aching, shin splints and all. And a lot of it is down to how the foot hits the ground, Look at that. To ably demonstrate, I've got my Ultra Escalante, and these are fantastic. I'm loving these. Been doing all my midweek runs in these. And so yes. So you've got three. So the first type, when people hit the foot, is forefoot. So they land on the front of their foot, and we call that forefoot striking, Then there's landing in the middle, and that's called midfoot. And then there's landing on your heel, and we call it heel striking. There's all sorts of schools of thought about how the foot should land, But most importantly, never mind how the foot should land, because as a beginner, I think drastically changing how your foot lands is not as easy as what I'm about to tell you, and that is where your foot lands in relation to your body, so it's where the foot lands. So the key things is not to overstride, so your foot shouldn't go way in front of the foot, because people seem to think that to go faster you have to stretch those legs out as far as you can in front of you and try and pull them through. That is probably the worst thing to do. The best place for the foot to land, where it should land in relation to your body, is below your hip, straight down below, not in the front, overreaching or behind it. You should reach out and just stop it at the front, so it lands. So if this is my body here, I want the foot to land relative in the middle there. Now, how your foot strikes, so if it's forefoot, midfoot, heel strike, that's not as important as where the foot hits in relation to your body. So have you got that? In the middle. So when you land, the full leg is taking all of it rather than just part of it, whether it be if you're going too far reaching, your heel striking, and you get all sorts of issues and problems with that, and overreaching, and it goes on and on. So key tip number one is where your foot lands should be just below the main part of your body. So hopefully that tip will work for you. Let me know what you think. Have you got any schools of thought, forefoot, midfoot, heel strike, where the foot should land? Do you have any thoughts, ideas? Leave in the comments below, and I'd love to hear your thoughts and ideas and things and theories. Before I move on to my second one, let's have a quick sip of another cup. There's something about tea that really gets the grey matters going, isn't it? So yes, tip number two. And this is one where as I say, I've seen a few posts and I've been seeing them over the weeks. I saw them in the spring series as well. And you know, sometimes you feel like leaving a comment to people, but they're total strangers. So I'm not going to leave comments. But there was one guy where I thought, no, I really need to say something. So to you, you know who you are, and you're watching this. So leave a comment, post below, and see what you think. But the long run, yeah, the long run is one of the most essential parts for marathon training. But people get it all wrong, both in terms of speed at which they run and the distance that they run, or the time that they're on their feet. And as a beginner, a lot of beginners run at a certain pace. And if you can take just one nugget, you should not be on your feet. And this is running, walking, whatever, run-walk combination. You should not be on your feet for any more than 3 hours. That's 3 hours. And it's been scientifically proven, and I'll leave a link below because I've done a bit of research. Whilst my gut feeling was this doesn't sound right. And I remember, if I cast my mind back when I was a beginner, and I'll put a link to the training plan I had when I was running with professional coaches, and these are coaches running with us, and again I'll put the link to them as well. And I looked up the plan the other day, and yeah, lo and behold, the longest long run, which was about 4 weeks from race day, 3, 4, 5 weeks from race day, was 3 hours. Now I overcooked it a bit and got stuck on the hills, and I ended up running for 3 hours and 8 minutes. But boy, was I on my last legs, you know. And but then I came in and ran my first marathon in 3 hours 47. Yeah, so I arrived at the race. The idea of not being on your feet longer than that is that you need to arrive on race day fresh, ready to race, yeah, ready to go, not worn out, knackered. Or if you're doing these long runs, I mean, some people are running for 4 hours, 5 hours just to get their miles in, yeah, because they're training on miles, not time. As a beginner, I fundamentally believe you should be training on time that you're on your feet. Because if you've been running for 4 or 5 hours on a Saturday or Sunday, how are you going to feel for the rest of the week? You're going to need some serious recovery time. So how will you feel when you need to put in those tracks, speed sessions, hill sessions during the week, threshold runs, tempo runs? You're going to be knackered. Seriously, you're going to be knackered. Yeah, I feel a bit knackered just saying it, so let me have another cuppa. Someone did comment on one of these posts that the beauty of running is there are no rules, you can do what you want. So yeah, you don't need to listen to what I'm saying, you can do what the hell you want. But believe you me, if you're on your feet as a beginner, or anyone really, and the expert runners do not go beyond this either, but running more than 3 hours, and as I say in the link below will explain that, is that there's a law of diminishing returns and the benefit that it has to your training and finishing the run. In fact, I often say that naivety is the best thing. So, you know, you can research this, research that, and whatever, blah, 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 blah. But naivety, go on your gut feel. Does it really feel right to be running at, say, a 12, 13-minute mile pace, 15-minute mile pace for 4 hours, 5 hours, just to get the miles in? Seriously, does it really feel right? Seriously, if you're on your feet for more than 3 hours, it is a diminishing return. And really, we're training to finish the race. You want to get to race day nice and fresh. You don't want to pick up injuries and get hurt and then not be able to do the race. Can you imagine? You've spent all those months and you've spent that money for the entry fee and this, and you're injured. You can't run it. Yeah, it's just not a good recipe. But I'd like to hear from you. Tell me what you think. Have you got any theories? Is it, and I'm talking about beginners now, is it about distance or is it about time? Yeah. What do you have any schools of thoughts? How have you trained? What training plans do you use? You know, leave some comments, links. I don't know whether YouTube's allows links or whatever. It's insane that beginners run for 5 hours training just to try and get the miles in, and it's the hardest thing they have to get over to beginners. You know, those who are running it as a one-off for charities, to get into their heads that you don't need to run the miles. If you've running 10 miles as a beginner is a long way, yeah. Running 50 miles, you don't need to run 20, 22 miles just to feel what it's like. Believe me, yeah, when you've been on your feet for 3 hours, you're going to be able to finish a marathon. Whether it takes you 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, you will finish and you will feel great. And wouldn't it be good to finish feeling great, feeling strong? Let's keep going. It ain't that long. That was one of my poems. Another quick cover. So to round up, as I say, those 2 tips: where your foot lands and long runs. Should be no longer than 3 hours. Tell me what you think. Leave in the comments below. Oh, as I said at the beginning, I saw this movie Around the World in 80 Days, and it gave me an idea. Now, I do a lot of travelling, been to many, many countries around the world, so I thought, hey, what do you think around the world in 80 marathons? If I was to do 80 marathons around the world, what would they be? What should they be? Have you got any suggestions? Leave as many suggestions as you want below. And I'd love to hear from you, whether you've run them or not run them. You know, obviously leave in the comments if you have run them. I mean, I've seen all sorts of marathons, and I'd like to keep it as the 26.2 marathons, but I'll let you sneak in the odd one. I mean, I've heard there's some, again, road marathons where they're a bit longer, shall we say. But for me at the moment, I'd like to keep it into, you know, run marathon. But if you've got suggestions of off-road stuff, trail marathons, but in 80 different countries around the world, or around the world in 80 countries, 80 marathons in the world, wherever. I'd love to hear from you. Leave your comments there below. If you have enjoyed this show, give it a thumbs up and likes, share it amongst your friends. And if you do know any beginners, whether you're a runner or not a runner, if you know any beginners who are training for a marathon. So, thank you for watching, thank you for listening. I hope it's been informative and a bit of fun. And we'll catch you next week on number 18. So till next time, wherever you are, whatever you do, just keep running, yeah! We're all done now, so you can go now. Yeah, I'll have another sip for the tea. Oh, thank you and good night.